In June 2014, the Detroit Tigers drafted an 18-year-old pitcher out of White House, Texas, in the 37th round. Mid-90s fastball, a no-hitter with 16 strikeouts on his resume. And one scout said he could have gone in the top 4 rounds if he chose baseball. He didn't. He chose to become one of the most creative athletes in American sports. That pitcher was Patrick Mahomes, and he walked away from baseball. But what if he didn't? What if Patrick Mahomes, the most creative, instinct-driven quarterback of his generation, had said yes to baseball instead? Not to become the greatest pitcher who ever lived, but to become something baseball had never seen before. And what if the way he played the game forced the game to change? What if the most creative athlete in American sports never played football? Not because he wasn't good enough, not because of injury, but because in June 2014, a scout in East Texas watched an 18-year-old throw a baseball and couldn't stop thinking about what he'd just seen. And in this alternate reality, neither could Mahomes. This is not a story about Patrick Mahomes becoming the greatest pitcher who ever lived. This is a story about what happens when someone doesn't fit the system and refuses to let the system fit them. Let's AltPlay this. Okay, before we go into alternate universe mode, let's get something straight. This is more grounded in reality than most people realize. In June 2014, the Detroit Tigers selected Patrick Mahomes in the 37th round of the MLB Draft, pick number 1,120 overall. Tim Grieve, the Tigers' area scout, watched him and said something worth sitting with. He said Mahomes was one of the better athletes he'd covered in 15 years, and that if Mahomes had committed solely to baseball, he could have graded out as a 3rd or 4th round prospect or higher. He threw in the mid-90s. He threw a no-hitter with 16 strikeouts. He was a 3-sport athlete who might have been a Division I player in basketball too. But there's one more thing. Something that doesn't show up in the scouting report. Patrick Mahomes is the son of Pat Mahomes Sr., an 11-year Major League pitcher. Patrick Mahomes II did not grow up watching baseball from the stands. He grew up watching it from the dugout. He already knew what professional baseball looked like from the inside. He had the arm. He had the bloodline. What he didn't have was a system that knew what to do with him. It's 2015. Mahomes reports to the Tigers' minor league system. He's not a finished product, and nobody expected him to be. The development plan was straightforward. Build mechanics, repeat the delivery, learn to command the zone. The standard path. Here's the problem. Mahomes didn't throw like a pitcher. He threw like a quarterback. When a corner was cut off, he'd release from a different arm angle. When a hitter's timing was predictable, he'd improvise mid-delivery. His mechanics were inconsistent, but his results were not nothing. You always wanted someone on the mound who wasn't afraid. The pitching coaches see upside. They also see chaos. And in professional baseball, chaos is the thing they are most trained to eliminate. By 2016-2017, that's where AltPlay gets interesting. Mahomes is caught between 2 versions of himself on the mound. The one his coaches want: consistent arm slot, repeatable delivery, command-first approach. The thing that turns raw arms into reliable starters. The standard mold. And then there's the one that keeps getting people out. The sidearm slider that hitters can't square up. The off-platform fastball that arrives from an angle they weren't expecting. The ability to reset in the middle of an at-bat. The way a quarterback resets in the pocket. There's a reason this tension exists. Traditional pitching development is built around repeatability. The idea is simple. The more you repeat, the more command you have, and the longer your career lasts. It's not wrong. It's produced some of the greatest pitchers in history. But Mahomes isn't a pitcher who repeats well. He's a pitcher who improvises well. And the system doesn't have a track for that. So the coaches push, and Mahomes tries. And the results get worse before they get better. The less that hitters can see you or see your pitch types, the more the advantage is to the pitcher. That's a real quote, from a real MLB sidearm pitcher. But in the minor leagues in 2016, that philosophy hasn't arrived yet. But wait, this is AltPlay, and we're going further. It's 2018. Mahomes has been grinding for 3 years. He's stopped trusting his instincts. And then one night, against a Double-A lineup that has his conventional stuff figured out, something shifts. He stops trying to be repeatable. He starts trying to be unpredictable. He drops his arm slot mid-inning. He throws a fastball off a three-quarter angle that cuts away from a hitter who had timed him perfectly. The batter swings at nothing. This has a name in baseball. Pitchers who vary their arm angles create a problem that hitters haven't evolved to solve. The question is, can anyone coach it? The answer is that the coaches realize they are the ones who need to adapt. Watch what happens next. By 2019, Mahomes has reached AAA. He doesn't have one arm slot. He has four. He makes each at-bat a different visual puzzle. Scouts from other organizations come to see him, not because his ERA is elite, but because he's doing something they haven't charted before. There's a precedent for this. The greatest unconventional deliveries were almost all discovered the same way. Not designed, discovered. A pitcher stopped doing what he was told and started doing what worked. Mahomes is doing that, but he's doing it with a 94-mile-per-hour fastball and an arm that is thrown under pressure his entire life. Here's where the ripple effects start to matter. When Mahomes reaches the majors, not as a star, not immediately, something starts to shift in how opposing teams prepare. The advanced scouting report can't tell a hitter which arm slot he's going to see, because Mahomes himself doesn't always know, until he reads the batter. Hitters begin to complain. Pitching coaches from other organizations begin to ask questions. Analytics departments start pulling release point data they've never had to pull before. And front offices, the ones who have spent years building pitching staffs around one primary metric, repeatable velocity, start to wonder if they've been asking the wrong question. The question they've been asking, how consistent can this pitcher be? The question they start asking, what if consistency isn't the goal? Those are not the same question, and the difference between them reshapes how teams scout, develop, and think about what a pitcher is supposed to be. Baseball analytics had already begun measuring arm angles through StatCast, quantifying release points from sidearm to over the top. But measuring a pitcher who uses all of them, intentionally, strategically, in sequence, is a different problem entirely. Mahomes forces that problem into existence. Here's the real question this story leaves you with. Can a player who doesn't fit the system force the system to change? History says yes. The players who changed baseball were almost never the ones who fit perfectly. They were the ones who broke the mold. Patrick Mahomes in football didn't change the model by being the best version of the old one. He changed it by being something the old model couldn't explain. Did Patrick Mahomes succeed in baseball? Or did he change what success looks like? The honest answer is probably both. Patrick Mahomes in baseball. Could one player really change how the game is pitched? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want more alternate reality sports breakdowns, subscribe to AltPlay. We drop one of these every week. Stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.